It begins like any other morning. The world doesn't announce when it changes. It just does. At 6:17 a.m. Eastern Time, the first reports appear online. A flash in Eastern Europe. Satellite data showing something no one wants to believe. A missile launch. Within minutes, social media fills with confusion. News anchors hesitate between speculation and silence. And as the story unfolds, the truth hits. The first strikes of a global war have begun. Across the United States, the reaction is not immediate chaos. It's disbelief. Phones vibrate on nightstands. A handful of early risers scroll through headlines that shift from unverified explosion to NATO response confirmed. The markets haven't opened yet, flights are still boarding, and the hum of everyday life continues. Coffee machines, morning radio, traffic. But under the surface, something invisible starts to ripple. At 6:45 a.m., an emergency alert lights up every phone on the East Coast. The message is blunt. National defense condition elevated. Remain indoors. Await further instruction. Most people have never seen a DEFCON alert in their lifetime. Some think it's a hack. Others assume it's regional. But the sound, that sharp, unmistakable tone of an official broadcast, is enough to silence breakfast tables and freeze commuters mid-step. In major cities, law enforcement begins activating protocols written decades earlier. Crowd control, transit shutdowns, curfews that haven't been used since the Cold War. Subways halt between stations. The airspace over Washington and New York is suddenly cleared. Flights bound for Europe are ordered to return to the gate. But still, no explosions, no bombs, just information. Fragmented, conflicting, terrifying. Television networks switch to emergency coverage. Anchors read statements that sound eerily like history repeating itself. Government officials urge calm, but their expressions betray something else. The fear that this is not a drill. As the sun rises over the East Coast, millions of Americans watch it with a new kind of awareness. That something irreversible has begun thousands of miles away, but the shockwave is already reaching their front doors. By 8 a.m., America is awake, not yet under attack, but no longer at peace. The world has entered a new chapter, and the first day of World War III has begun. By mid-morning, the rhythm of daily life begins to fracture. The nation's communications networks remain intact, for now, but information has become both lifeline and poison. Television anchors speak in hushed tones. Every broadcast loop repeats the same message. Remain indoors. Stay calm. Do not travel unless instructed. In cities like Chicago, Atlanta, and Dallas, people pour into supermarkets. The aisles fill faster than any storm warning ever triggered. Shelves once stocked with bottled water, canned food, and batteries vanish within an hour. At gas stations, queues stretch around the block. The sound of engines idling mixes with short bursts of argument, small flashes of fear from people who, just hours ago, were running late for work. The government's strategy in this first phase is simple: containment. Keep the public informed but not terrified. Maintain basic order while military assets reposition quietly behind the scenes. But the silence, the absence of visible war, begins to erode that control. By 10 a.m., false reports start spreading faster than officials can refute them. Messages claiming missile impacts in Los Angeles or Houston trend across social media. Amateur video, some real, many fabricated, show streaks of light in the sky, intercepted by something unseen. For millions of Americans glued to their phones, the distinction between rumor and reality dissolves. In Washington, D.C., the White House remains visible behind layers of barricades. Helicopters circle constantly. Military convoys move south toward undisclosed positions. In New York, trading on Wall Street halts after the Third Circuit breaker trip. The markets don't crash, they simply stop. Across the Midwest, power grids fluctuate. Not from attack, but from sheer demand as people overload systems, charging phones, freezers, and radios all at once. The fear of losing connection feels as real as the fear of attack. By noon, schools close nationwide. The Department of Education issues a statement calling it a precautionary suspension. Parents flood roads to pick up children. Traffic clogs interstate highways, not with evacuation orders, but instinct. In these 6 hours, America experiences the first paradox of modern war. The battlefield has not yet arrived, but its shadow already covers every screen, every voice, every choice. The afternoon, the digital blackout. At 1:17 p.m., the world goes quiet. Not from explosions, but from silence, the kind that hums in the air when everything stops working. For hours, officials warned of cyber disruptions. Few truly understood what that meant until it began. Within minutes, ATMs freeze mid-transaction. Debit cards fail at gas pumps. The internet slows, then stutters, then dies. Entire regions lose access to online banking, government sites, even local news feeds. Social media flickers out like lights in a storm. It's not a total blackout, yet. But it's a patchwork collapse, and it spreads fast. Each outage triggers panic that radiates outward like an invisible contagion. In cities, digital payment systems fail, leaving stores unable to sell what little remains. In rural areas, cell towers drop one by one, isolating communities entirely. Emergency radio stations become the last thread of communication. A calm, repetitive voice echoes through static. This is a national broadcast. Please remain calm. Federal authorities are responding. The words repeat every 5 minutes, a mantra to hold off panic, though few believe it. By 2 p.m., hospitals activate emergency protocols. Generators hum to life. Ambulances idle in parking lots, conserving fuel. Patients' relatives gather outside, desperate for news that can no longer be transmitted. At home, millions of Americans stand by powerless routers, staring at screens that no longer load. Parents rummage through drawers for forgotten radios, old flashlights, and battery packs. Neighbors start talking again, in person, across fences and driveways the way people used to. The blackout doesn't destroy, it disconnects. And that disconnection breeds something primal. Without information, people begin to fill the silence with imagination. For the first time in decades, the United States feels alone, not as a nation, but as millions of individuals cut off from the systems they trusted. By mid-afternoon, one truth becomes clear. In modern war, the first casualties are not cities or soldiers, but certainty itself. The night falls, fear, light, and the unknown. By 6 p.m., the sun sinks behind a horizon no one notices. For the first time in generations, America watches night arrive without the glow of cities. Power outages, once regional, now blanket the East Coast. What light remains flickers from candles, lanterns, and the faint blue of emergency beacons. Major cities enforce curfews. Police cruisers roll through empty downtown streets, loudspeakers echoing through skyscraper canyons. Return home. Stay indoors. Remain calm. The words sound hollow even to those who repeat them. In the countryside, families cluster around battery radios. The voices that come through are fractured, distant, pre-recorded updates from hours ago. Somewhere, a broadcast repeats instructions to boil water, though no one knows why. Fear has changed shape. It's no longer the fear of impact or invasion. It's the fear of the unknown, the invisible front line where nobody knows what has already been lost. At 8:30 p.m., rumors spread of explosions offshore, unconfirmed reports of naval clashes in the Atlantic. Without the internet, no one can verify. On highways, traffic has stopped entirely. Those who fled early now sleep in their cars, engines off to save fuel. The sky is quiet except for the occasional streak of light, aircraft, satellites, or perhaps something else. In living rooms, Americans rediscover rituals once forgotten, handwritten notes, whispered prayers, the sound of silence between each heartbeat. Some neighbors share generators, others bar their doors. Trust begins to fracture along invisible lines. And yet, amid the darkness, there is still resilience. Across countless small towns, churches open their doors, volunteers distribute food, amateur radio operators, and once dismissed as hobbyists, become vital links across states. In the quiet, a different kind of unity emerges, improvised, fragile, human. By 10 p.m., the blackout has spread coast to coast. The United States, for the first time in modern history, falls asleep disconnected from itself. The first day of World War III ends, not with fire, but with silence. The war has not yet reached every home, but its shadow now lives in every mind. The morning after, a changed nation. When the sun rises again, it brings no sense of normalcy, only the realization that the world is no longer what it was. Across the United States, the new morning feels heavy, muted. Streets, once filled with commuters, are lined with stalled cars abandoned mid-journey. Gas stations stand empty, their signs dark, their prices frozen in place. For the first time in decades, silence defines the landscape. No aircraft cross the skies. No music hums from open storefronts. Only the rhythmic echo of footsteps and the distant crackle of shortwave radios break the stillness. Overnight, the government issued its first formal address via emergency radio, a voice most Americans didn't recognize, speaking through static. The message was short, almost mechanical. The nation remains intact. Federal continuity is in effect. Shelter in place. Assistance will arrive, but no one knows when or where that assistance might come from. In homes and shelters, people begin counting what they have left. Food, water, fuel. Grocery chains, cut off from logistics networks, remain shuttered. Credit cards are useless. What once seemed endless, from supplies, power, connection, has become finite, measured in hours and calories. And yet, beneath the fear, a strange calm begins to take hold. Neighbors who barely spoke before now share meals by candlelight. Parents comfort children with stories about resilience. Communities that once argued over politics and screens now rediscover what it means to simply belong. History rarely announces its turning points. They arrive quietly, hidden in moments of confusion, in choices made by ordinary people trying to hold on to the familiar. This morning, is one of those turning points. By noon, makeshift aid centers begin forming in schools, churches, and parking lots. Amateur operators report intermittent transmissions from overseas, fragments suggesting the conflict is still expanding. The war has entered its second day, but for most Americans, the front line remains invisible, measured not in miles, but in uncertainty. In the span of 24 hours, a nation, built on abundance, has learned how fragile that abundance truly is. The systems that once defined civilization, the grid, the market, the screen, have vanished, leaving behind only the oldest human currency: trust, courage, and the will to endure. And so ends the first day of World War III. Not with the fall of cities, but with the awakening of a people forced to remember what survival truly means.